So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to check out Entropy Detonation, which is a Obex specific mod that should eventually be available from Cephalon Suda. Now, as you saw in the beginning, this mod makes enemies you kill with a ground finisher explode, which deals 1000 blast damage to all enemies within 10 meters. But it also has a bit of scaling baked into it, because it will look at the enemy that you're doing a ground finisher on, and it will take 20% of their health and add it to the explosion as damage. So if the enemy you kill has a ton of health, the explosion is gonna do a ton of damage. And since it's a Cephalon Suda specific mod, it also adds the Entropy effect, which, once you gather enough affinity, will cause an explosion dealing 1000 magnetic damage to all enemies within 25 meters, and apply the magnetic status effect, which drains shields. And the secondary effect here is that it will boost your energy by 25% for 30 seconds and restore 25% of your base energy as well. Now, the Entropy effect is, in my opinion, the worst effect you could have on a melee weapon, because first of all, it does magnetic damage, which is really good against Corpus, you know, the faction that's a pain in the arse to fight with a melee weapon, and the energy generation from the secondary effect isn't that important either, unless you want to combo this with, for example, pull mag, which is what I did, so you can pull the enemies to you, which also knocks them down, so you can do a ground finisher and kill a bunch of them at once. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the explosion is bad, because a bit of range is exactly what the Obex needs, because it just has very short range, so adding some range and AoE with the Entropy Detonation and also the explosion you get on a ground finisher is fantastic. It would just make more sense for it to either boost your health or armor and do a different type of damage, but then it couldn't really be a Cephalon Suda mod. Now, this mod is absolutely fantastic, and I really like it when it works. It's this fabulous display of destruction as you pummel an enemy to the ground and suddenly everyone around you explodes and dies. It is gorgeous. And every single time it happened, it made me giggle like a bloody schoolgirl. But if this is the way you want to play, and it's something you want to do all the time, so you do use something like pull mag, which pulls the enemies to you and knocks them down, so you can do a ground finisher and kill all of them, you will eat your keyboard out of frustration. And I don't know if it's because the Obex has a very short range, so you have to be really close to the enemy to trigger a ground finisher, or if the game is just terrible at determining whether or not it wants to trigger a ground finisher, because I dare to say that more than 50% of the time, the game's just gonna be like, wait, what do you mean a ground finisher? I don't see any knockdown enemies. I don't... Oh, you meant those enemies! Right, the ones that just got up because you were too busy breakdancing on top of them instead of doing a ground finisher? Those ones? Oh yeah, right. Sorry. And I would not blame you for thinking that I'm exaggerating here, but the very first clip in this video where I just jump into a group of enemies, I pull them to me, and then I do a ground finisher took 7 tries. It took 7 tries before the game realized I wanted to do a ground finisher on the pile of knockdown enemies in front of me. Now, maybe I'm just really bad at doing ground finishers and I'm just straight up missing something, but the more I try to do this, you know, the more I try to do a ground finisher on every single enemy to get clips for this video to show you how the mod works, the more frustrated I got, until I eventually just stopped giving a damn and I played the mission normally. I just went full melee, and when a ground finisher happened, it was this fabulous kaboom where everything kabloded, and it made me giggle for a little bit, but then I went back to normal combos, and that's where I started having a lot of fun. And I would recommend you do the same, unless you're amazing at pulling off ground finishers and you can do it on demand. Just play the mission normally, go full melee, and when a ground finisher happens, it will be this fabulous display of destruction. And don't worry, it will happen plenty, because sparring weapons have combos that knock enemies down, so you can do ground finishers on them. And at the end of the day, if you really want to do a ground finisher, you can always just do a slam attack, which will knock the enemies down. So even though I've experienced quite a bit of frustration when initially testing this mod, I am happy to say that it is bloody worth it. It is a lot of fun and you should definitely get it. It's just awesome. Just don't overdo it, right? Don't try to do a ground finisher on every single enemy, because as I've said already, you are going to eat your keyboard out of frustration. There are few things more fun than pummeling an enemy to the ground with a flurry of blows and making everything within 10 meters explode by doing so. So definitely get this mod, it is awesome, and that's pretty much it for the video. So I thank you very much for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.